Hello everyone, good morning. I guess after tea, the energy level and coffee level is like up and down because you just had tea and then you have to sit here and then listen to people talk about what they did and whatnot. So I'm not here to talk about what we did. I'm here to talk about what you guys done and then what we did based on that. So give yourself a big round of applause because you are all scientists. Please, let's be active. Give yourself a big round of applause. All right. Since your energy level is so down, I'm gonna keep my energy level high. Okay? Is that okay? Give me a thumbs up. Yes? Okay. Thank you. So let me talk a little bit about what we are, what's Global Shapers, and then we'll give you a little bit more context into what we've done. So Global Shapers is a movement that started about 11 years ago by the World Economic Forum. And then what we've done is throughout the world, there's about 450 chapters, about 15,000 members of youths aged 18 to 30. And after you're 30, you have to be an alumni. So you can't be a member after 30 as well. So all these youths are working towards common goals related to 5 or 6 different issues. But since we're here today, we're only going to talk about one issue, that is climate change and trying to protect the earth from all the ill and perils that we inflicted upon. So this is our network. This is what happens. We have a network all over the world. In South Asia, we are distributed all over except for Afghanistan because of the political situation over there. But even in China, China is especially a big hub for the World Economic Forum and the Global Shapers community because most of the members in our community are youths aged 18 to 30. So 18 to 30, lawyers, engineers, doctors, various people from various backgrounds, bureaucrats, all sorts of people are part of our network. So what does this network do? So we have had 10 years of impact. Even in Nepal, we've had 47 different initiatives and projects. We made hospitals, we've made schools, we've had 16,000 plus direct beneficiaries, hours of volunteer 2,500 plus. We have 23 current project partners, and we are 50 people. And you're thinking, oh, you've done all of this based on World Economic Forum money and all of that. No, we're all volunteers. So all the projects that we do, it comes out of our own pocket. We don't take as much as possible money from others. But once we start, if some partner wants to give us money, we'll do that. So how does this go into like the climate change? What? So one of the things that is really important whenever you have a diverse set of people is you don't get tunnel vision. Everybody has a broad perspective on what the world is. They have a different worldview. I don't have a similar worldview to a global shaper from another country. So the research question was, what are the common advocacy areas for climate change resilience in South Asia from a youth perspective? So let's say there's a doctor and there's an engineer, and then there's a lawyer and there's a banker. What climate change is and what resiliency means, but each person is different. A doctor sees from a medical perspective, a lawyer sees from a policy perspective, an engineer sees from a solutions perspective. When you think about a bureaucrat, they see it from a management perspective. But it all needs to come down and they need to be in a common, pot, and they need to understand what the advocacy point of it all is. And then I want to explain to you a little bit of a logic. Since all these people are youth, we started the first research question whenever this popped up, we thought was, who are the actors that enable us to provide solutions against climate change? And the first idea was we started going towards human history. How has human history progressed? So one of the most key factors was the iPhone. I want to ask you, how many of you have the iPhone on you right now? Please raise your hand. All right. And in the group of people that owns an iPhone right now in 2023, it ranges from poor people in the villages who have been given iPhones from their relatives to the biggest billionaire in the world, right? But if you thought about 2007, who bought the iPhone first? It was always the rich people. And in human history, if you extrapolate every technology, every solution, it's never the poor people who get the best solutions first. It's always the rich people. So our perspective was, if you can get these rich people to invest their time, invest their money into these areas, that's how you crack this game. Because no technology, no movement has ever succeeded in the whole world by trying to enable the people that are most afflicted. It's always, and this is the truth, if you extrapolate it with every research, talk to any anthropologist, you cannot deny it's always the rich people that have made that impact. So that made us thinking, okay, who are the group of diverse people that we need? When you talk about doctors, lawyers, engineers, bureaucrats, and all, most of them are well off. So from that perspective, this came into it. And this is how the research overview of the paper and everything goes. I'm not going to go dive into it and go deep into it and not bore you too much. I'm just going to talk about the practical stuff. So what we did was we identified a target audience, we identified who we are targeting, we identified the research question, and then on we started giving out findings on what we need to advocate for, or what are these advocacy points. So what we did was the methodology was very simple. We are not expert at this. There's a lawyer, there's a banker writing this, and there's an engineer. So you can't have a common viewpoint on how the research needs to work. A doctor was saying, this is not the way we do research in medical field. An engineer was saying, this is not the research we do. A banker says, we have different parameters. But we said, okay, let's just do research based on what common human understanding is. So what we did was, we introduced the topic to the whole group. Then we had a big overview on a set of questions. And then we had an explanation. Then we chose a methodology that was very easy. Then when we moved into progress and finding, then we had a discussion. That was the basic principle. We could teach this to an 8-year-old and we could teach this to an 18-year-old. That was the whole idea. So what were the aim and objectives? So first of all, we wanted to raise awareness. Secondly, we wanted to encourage youth participation, active youth participation. We didn't want the youth to be in a room and then go home and forget all about it. We wanted to be in the room, figure out what advocacy points they were doing, and then you ask them, okay, what are you going to do tomorrow based on this? You had the mic, you talked all about this. What are you going to do based on this? And they committed something to it. And then we expedited calls. So one of the good things with Global Shapers and the youth is we make mistakes first, and then we make corrections on that. We don't deliberate for 6 months based on research questions and all that. We make mistakes first. That's how we learned in school, that's how we learned in college, that's how we learn in life. If that's a practical information that's applicable to our life, that should be safe for climate change. That was the whole idea behind trying to make this advocacy paper. And the fourth and the most important thing we thought about was, why don't we go one step beyond us? Let's think about the people that are impacted by our actions. If I buy a gas guzzler vehicle, how does that impact someone living in a village? Right? How does that impact someone living in a mountain? So that was the whole concept about trying to solve it from our perspective, instead of a scientist's perspective, instead of a medical officer's perspective. So explaining why there was a need was because it encourages people to think about it from a very practical perspective. There is no need for us to deliberate for hours and hours and hours about which data set we choose, which science we choose. Because everything is zoning towards that we are headed to a very, very disastrous situation. That was it. But we need a practical action. A banker needs a set of guidelines to give out loans. That's the only way that the banker knows how to solve climate change. You can't ask a banker to go and solve climate change using machines. A banker can only give you loans. A banker can only make investments. A doctor knows only how to solve health problems. The doctor might not be an expert into solving problems that are policy-based. So we chose that exact skill set that they have, and then based on that, we made those common sense decisions. One of the things that's really hard that we found in literature as well was there's a lot less regard to common sense decisions, and there's more regard to key findings and expert data. None of the people that we talked to in the common level talked about expert data. They didn't talk about data sets. They only talked about their experiences, finding hard to get loans, finding hard to get medical services, finding hard to get solutions. That is not backed a lot for these common people based on data sets. They only care about one pill they can take and the solutions there. So that is not the way that scientists operate, or the world operates that way. So that's the approach we took. So our methodology, first we identified a research team. It had lots of people from the Global Shapers team. One of our team members is Diana Sherpa, who works at ECMOD over here. The other one was we had a research design. We just said, hey, let's make it really simple. And then what we did was we did data collection. After that, we did data analysis. And after that, we did input from other people and diverse groups of people. And then what we did was we made a paper based on that. This advocacy paper is very easy and understandable to read. So now that we did that for 5 months, so how do we make sure that all the people that made the paper understand all of this and then get that done? So we had an event on May this year. We have 170 plus participants. We have 60 plus countries coming here. And then we made a climate resilience advocacy paper. We also made solutions presentations. And the people who presented the solution. They made a commitment that they're going to go and do it in their own countries and in their own cities. And 3 months later, now that we see, we have 6 projects that are running right now based on the commitments that they made in these. So in 3 months, if they're able to deploy the solutions, that is the target we are meeting. And then we also had a cultural exchange, because when you have youth 18 to 30 coming into a specific place, you're about to have cultural exchange. So this is one of the few key highlight photos of our events that we did. And as you can see, we had diverse group of people from South Asia and beyond coming in and doing all of this. The next slide is the one that I'm most proud of, what we are able to do. I haven't seen ever in all the conferences that are youth-led and voluntary that they've been able to strong arm a private sector actor to make private climate change commitment. We were able to do that with CNIYF and Neptune for Entrepreneurs Forum. Let me talk to you a little bit about our partners right now. They are the biggest groups of owners of factories, industries, and solution providers in this country. And they were able to make a climate pledge on signing a document saying that they were able to decrease their carbon emission by 2030 based on the nationally determined contribution. And then we searched around all our local areas in South Asia. None of the members in the voluntary groups were able to strong arm these people to do all of that. So that's a big support for us and big accomplishment on our part. The other thing is also this. We initiated the project, but then we had a helping hand from people from all over the world. We had members from South Asia, from Ahmedabad, Baramati, Coimbatore, Da Nang, Dehradun, Gurugram, and we also had people from Rome and Ho Chi Minh City, even Kochi, Surat, and Wow. So that means it is a diverse group of people that are taking ownership into this document, and they were able to do that without initiation. So these are the list of all activities that we did. On February 7th and February March, we had a roundtable discussion. Just because Global Chamber made advocacy paper doesn't mean it has to be accepted. We have to get opinions from people outside of our little bubble. Then we had panel discussions, and then we also have cross-hub discussions based on this. So this presentation right now, current findings and highlights, there are two major things that you can understand from this. One, people are really willing in adopting with technologies that are really green, but they don't have financial means to adopt those. Like I said, rich people are really easy to convince about putting their solar roofs and everything because they understand the economics. And our country has been able to give them 50% subsidies based on that. But poor people won't do that because they are already having a problem thinking about what they're going to get for dinner. So do you really think we're going to go to a village and then tell them all about climate change? They're not going to adopt it. But if you get the rich people to take that step, it will make sure that the other technologies are much more favored. Because if there is a part of climate technologies that is $3 billion, and then it's increasing every year, the other people that can see that, the other people who want to make money are going to invest a lot more into that part. It's going to go to $6 billion. That was our understanding. And also, whenever you have a new technology being introduced and new solutions being promoted, it's always the youth and it's always the people who the means to understand what this will do 20 years from now are going to guide how that technology scales up. And that was one of our key findings. And we also talked about how that is being promoted, especially by youth. One of the companies that we really understood and how they were really landmark were GoTo recyclers. Most of their customer base is youth, 18 to 30. And most of them have an income source above 60,000 rupees every month. So that gives you an indication who is actually investing and who is actually adopting these solutions. If you really want to go into data sets, that's the data set you see. Whenever you talk about common people, they only take care about two things: how much money they're willing to spend and how much happiness that will give them. They're all data sets. Whenever we talk to common people, they don't care about that. They only care about how much money they spend, how much happiness that gives them. So here are the gaps that we found. One was data reliability. There is a lack of data reliability in this country or overall in South Asia. The other thing is lack of structured metrics. So if you go to a bureaucrat in the Ministry of Forestry and Environment in Nepal, they have a different metrics how they measure climate change versus if you go to the finance ministry. So how are they going to communicate with each other? The files that get transferred from one to other, they don't get pushed. So that was one of the things. And also, drought of native assessment tools. We literally saw in a presentation in the earlier session that we had to import building codes from America. So how does building codes from America, which is a country that has a different set of value chains, going to adopt us and then serve us in Nepal or even in South Asia? So that's really hard to commit in terms of that. So these were the gaps, and these are the opportunities. Whenever there's a gap, there's opportunity. First, there is an opportunity to disrupt all of this. Then there is the opportunity to create. Then there is the opportunity to advocate. I think we've already taken the step on advocacy. Then we are also going to take the opportunity to create and disrupt. So let's talk about creating and disrupting. We created this climate idea model canvas. So these are really simple metrics. Anybody from Bhutan, anybody from Afghanistan, anybody from China, and anybody from Nepal can understand this very easily. It's just checking a box. We've designed this climate idea model canvas to be understood from an 8-year-old to a 80-year-old. And this is incorporated in this book that we've already made and published. And also, 3 more slides. So what we've also made is climate idea model canvas document. The other thing is we also made a matrix on how to judge all of that. And then we also made policy paper mechanism. So what have we done since 3 months? Other hubs have done something. What have we done? So we also made metrics to understand all of this. If you scan this QR code, you can read our paper based on that. And finally, I want to say is this is actually the e-copy of the advocacy paper that I have in my hand. And this advocacy paper is something that you can read and adopt. And one more thing is we are changing and updating this volume every year. So if you want to have more of your input, if you want to advocate for something related to climate change in the Indo-Himalayan region or beyond, you can contact us. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you very much, Gunjan. An interesting presentation indeed. So I'll open the floor for any questions that you may have for Gunjan. I'm sure there are plenty. Yes? Aisha?
I would also like to give a shout out to Diana Sharpa as well. She has been really important in writing this paper. She's in the back. If I don't answer any question, I'd like to forward some of them to her.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very passionately spoken. Just a couple of thoughts, in my mind as you were speaking. Ideally speaking, what you say is correct. The rich should be helping the poor, but we don't see that happening. We don't see the global north, although we know climate change is an existential threat, but we don't see the kind of financial support or investments coming from them. And then you talk about the common people not having enough knowledge or not bothering about research when you spoke with them. So I think different communities have different priorities if you talk to mountain communities, if you talk to coastal communities. So isn't there, this disconnect between science and society which needs to be put in place? And finally, I wanted to ask you, you said people who, came and participated in the youth event went back to their countries. So what kind of projects did they start and which countries do they come from?
Yeah, thank you so much for this question because this is really important. I would like to address the first question. When the rich, whenever they make a decision in terms of investment, they see the bottom line. And that bottom line should be sustainable. As a climate tech entrepreneur myself, whenever I go somewhere, I back up with science. Everybody will clap. But whenever there is a money issue, regardless if it's a bureaucrat or taking ownership, even if it's a Hindu Himalayan region, anywhere, a vulnerable community, the first thing they're going to ask is, this is not feasible for us, right? Even if they have the best solution in the world, if they have a turnkey solution, they turn it on and off. The biggest question they will have is, am I capable enough to operate this machinery or solution, or am I capable enough to do this? So one of the factors how that impacts the scientific community, the investors who are doing this, and the people who are going to be taking up that resource. The nexus of all of that is government bureaucrats that serve all of this. So I'm not advocating here to give tax benefits for everyone that comes in for climate benefits and all of that. But whenever there is a technology that is being adopted by a local community, there should be at least metrics with which they should understand that the solution proposed are really good. the government should also be able to see that, okay, these solutions are actually being deployed. And the third is investors is seeing the results based on the impact versus how they are making money on that. So there's a lack of that technology out there. And then these days, I don't think that technology, the level of investment needed to deploy that technology is that hard. We've also talked about this in our paper as well. So that's the first question. Second question is, yeah, of course, in Trivandrum hub, they are converting Kalpataksha book into their language. The Kolkata hub is already doing a lot of projects in terms of cleanup of the city and then trying to foster local level scientific research based on their own money. They're giving out their money. There's a lot of other climate projects. What you can do is you can scan one of these QRs, go into the links of each individual hubs, and then you can figure out what they're doing individually. And they're very active on social media, and it's very easy to figure out what they're doing. If you want to talk about this, we can talk about this after this.
Thank you. Is that okay? Yeah, I'll take one more question. Go ahead, just one more question.
Sir, what is the basically when someone want to approach to you? Okay, no, it's okay. So suppose I am working as a assistant professor in Kolkata, okay, or so, as you know, India is having the youth capacity. So how we are planning to do MOU and some what is the legal procedure to approach for organizing any type of program for the youth development?
Cool.
Okay.
It's very easy. So whenever you go, if you are in a city, just Google the name of the city and write down Global Shapers. They will usually have an email or a Facebook or whatever, and then you reach out to them and then you pitch it to them. If you want to do international thing, that's a little bit beyond my level of scope. But in terms of local cities, if anybody wants to do any event in Kathmandu, they can literally reach out to me or Diana or anybody from Kathmandu hub. But if you want to do it locally in your city, you have to reach out to them. But if you want to do international as well, you want to do global stuff, you reach out to the city. They'll propose it to the Global Shapers community worldwide, and then if there's an approval, they can do that. The time to deliver all these solutions in every project for us is a lot faster than any other organization. Let me tell you that. So it's very easy, but you have to stay in constant communication because we're all volunteers. We don't get paid to do all of this. This is out of goodness of our heart, and we're paying most of the time for all the projects that we do out of our project pocket. So that's it. If you guys want to talk to me more, I am here all day.
Thank you.
Yeah, very impressive in your own volunteer work. I think you should start applying for funds. This is excellent work that needs to be done, and youth is at the center stage. So, well, one thing that I wanted to ask, you said you make mistakes first, and then you try to implement your activities, whatever. But isn't it more efficient if you have some kind of a method that you roll out, that you test first and roll out, and then avoid making those mistakes on and on?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
just a comment.
I'm going to give you like straight up answer. Age 18 to 30, we've talked with everyone. The level of work that we do, the old model doesn't work. I'll tell you this honestly because I'll give you a straight up example. Whenever we are making a presentation, we get back and forth 30, 40 times, right? And then the thing gets delivered. That's usually what happens with the people my age. So with the presentation, if we have the opportunity to do edits faster and more, that's same with any technology and anything. But the thing is, we don't need to do experiment large enough for a whole world, but we can do it in a smaller scale and make mistakes. And then there's this big startup thing that goes on to fail fast and learn more faster and deploy faster.
Thank you.